Picture this. You're standing in the grocery store meat aisle, caught between two simple options: pale chicken breast and a deep red steak. A stranger says, "White meat is healthier." Another answers, "Red meat has more nutrients." And suddenly you're not shopping, you're taking sides. But here's the trick. The color isn't a personality trait, and it isn't even mainly about the animal. It's a fingerprint left by the work that muscle was designed to do. In the next few minutes, you'll get a 5-second rule that makes white versus red stop sounding like a moral debate and start looking like basic biology. Let's get into it right here on Secrets of Simple Things. The label trap. Why white sounds safer. White meat and red meat began as simple descriptions, but they've collected meanings. White sounds light, clean, and careful. Red sounds heavy, intense, and a little guilty. That emotional shortcut is powerful because it feels like common sense, and common sense travels faster than biology. The problem is that the label describes what you see before cooking, not what the food will do for you. When someone says, "I only eat white meat," they usually mean, "I'm trying to be healthy." When someone defends steak, they might mean, "I need iron," "I'm training," or simply, "I love the taste." Those are real goals, but the color label can't reliably deliver the answer by itself. It's a convenience category, and convenience is exactly where misunderstandings are born. How we ended up with two buckets. For most of human history, meat wasn't split into two neat groups. It was split by availability and purpose. What was hunted, what was herded, what was preserved for travel, and what was saved for celebration. Meat often meant whatever you could get, and the details were local. As modern food systems scaled up, people wanted fast language. Two buckets, white and red, spread because they were easy to teach, easy to market, and easy to remember. Cookbooks use them. Restaurants use them. Nutrition advice use them because a headline can't hold a paragraph. In the late 20th century, public health advice often focused on saturated fat, so poultry became the easy poster child for lean protein. The categories turned into a shortcut for cholesterol and heart talk, even though the science and the menu were always more complicated. Once a shortcut becomes official sounding, people stop asking what it leaves out until it fails at dinner. Marketing also shaped the border. Pork was famously promoted as the other white meat, which tells you everything. The categories can be bent to fit a message. Over time, white became a symbol for restraint, and red became a symbol for indulgence. The words started acting like moral categories. But biology doesn't care about vibes. It cares about oxygen. The science. Myoglobin, the invisible paint. Inside every muscle is a protein called myoglobin. Its job is to store oxygen in the tissue, like a tiny backup tank parked inside the muscle fibers. When a muscle needs steady energy, it needs steady oxygen, and myoglobin helps keep that supply available. Here's the key. Muscles designed for endurance carry more myoglobin. More myoglobin makes the muscle darker. Muscles designed for short, explosive bursts carry less. Less myoglobin makes the muscle lighter. That's why the same animal can produce meat that looks white in one cut and red in another. The color is the muscle's workload made visible. This also explains why red meat is often linked with iron. Myoglobin is an oxygen-handling protein, and iron is central to oxygen chemistry. Myoglobin is not the same as hemoglobin in blood, but it's playing in the same oxygen economy. You don't need to memorize pathways to use the idea. Just remember what the color is measuring: oxygen storage capacity. One more detail: cooking changes the color you see, but it doesn't change the reason it started that way. Heat can turn a red steak brown or make a pale breast look golden. Underneath, the myoglobin story is still there. The chicken proof. One animal, two colors. If you want to see the rule without a textbook, look at a chicken. People casually call chicken white meat, but a chicken is the clearest counterexample to the idea that color equals species. Chicken breast is built for quick bursts of flight, short, intense effort, then rest. That kind of movement doesn't require a large oxygen reserve. So the breast muscle carries less myoglobin and looks pale. Now look at the legs and thighs. Those muscles are on duty all day, standing, walking, scratching, balancing. That's endurance work. Endurance muscles keep more oxygen on hand, which means more myoglobin, which means darker meat. This is also why thighs usually taste richer and stay juicier under heat. It's not a mystery ingredient, it's structure. More myoglobin, often a bit more fat, and fibers that tolerate cooking better. The 5-second rule: ask the muscle's job. Now widen the lens. Cows, pigs, and sheep spend their lives doing weight-bearing work, standing, walking, supporting mass. Their major muscles are built for sustained effort. So many cuts start with higher myoglobin and a naturally redder color. Even within one animal, some muscles work harder than others, so the shade can vary by cut. Here's the 5-second rule you can carry into any store. Don't ask, "What animal is it?" Ask, "What did this muscle do all day?" Endurance muscles trend darker. Burst muscles trend lighter. A quick mental test makes it stick. Legs tend to be darker than loins, because legs are working. It won't classify every cut perfectly, but it will keep you from treating color like a moral category. The big misreads. 3 mistakes people make. Mistake 1 is mixing up the buckets with the animal. Chicken equals white and beef equals red are shorthand, not laws. The bird itself already disproves it, and so does pork marketing. Mistake 2 is turning the label into a health verdict. White doesn't automatically mean good for you, and red doesn't automatically mean harmful. The label can hint at certain nutrients, but it can't see your portion, your overall diet, or what you do in the kitchen. Mistake 3 is the loudest, collapsing processed meat and fresh meat into the same argument. Bacon, sausages, hot dogs, and many deli meats aren't just red meat. They're meat that has been altered with added salt, curing agents, and processing steps that change how it behaves in the diet. If you ignore that distinction, the debate becomes noise. If you make that distinction first, many contradictions disappear. The real levers: cut and cooking. If you want practical control, focus on what you can actually choose: the cut and the cooking method. Cut changes the fat-to-protein balance. 2 items can share the same red meat label while living in different worlds, one lean and one heavily marbled. The same is true for poultry. Breast, thigh, and wing are different tools, built for different jobs. Cooking can amplify or erase those differences. High heat and overcooking punish lean meat by drying it out. Heavy breading and deep frying add a second food on top of the first. Gentle heat, moisture, and timing can keep even lean cuts satisfying. Small habits help. Don't chase extra done on lean cuts, and let cooked meat rest so juices redistribute instead of spilling onto the cutting board. This is the real power. You can't change myoglobin, but you can change outcomes. Why it tastes different and where it's going next. Most people don't choose meat in a spreadsheet, they choose it in their mouth. Redder meats often taste deeper and more meaty because myoglobin contributes to that savory character. And many red cuts also carry more fat, an engine for aroma and richness. White meat, especially breast meat, is milder. That's not a flaw, it's a feature. Mild meat is a sponge for seasoning and marinades. The trade-off is that it has less built-in protection against dryness, which is why it can flip from tender to chalky in a few minutes. Thighs are often more forgiving for the same reason they're darker. They're built for work, and they come with more internal insurance. Modern meat. Faster growth, different texture. There's a newer variable that can make the same cut feel different today than it did decades ago. How the animal was bred, fed, and grown. Industrial systems often select for faster growth and higher lean yield. In poultry, rapid growth and oversized breast yield have been linked to texture defects with names that sound like a joke. Woody breast, white striping, spaghetti meat. But the eating experience is real. Tougher bite, odd fibers, less pleasant chew. Leanness can also change flavor. When animals are pushed toward extra lean, intramuscular fat can drop, and that fat is part of what makes meat taste rounded instead of flat. Feed matters too. It can shift fat composition and aroma in subtle ways. None of this means all modern meat is bad, but it does mean quality is not only a recipe problem. This is where the conversation turns ethical. Welfare, sustainability, and what we're optimizing for as a food system. It also explains why the debate is moving from red versus white toward how was it raised and what does quality actually mean? Add plant-based meats that mimic red color and lab-grown meat on the horizon, and the old buckets start to look temporary. The takeaway. Read the muscle, not the myth. So what's the difference between white meat and red meat? At the core, it's myoglobin, oxygen storage, shaped by what a muscle was built to do. That's the biology beneath the labels. Redder cuts often bring a bolder flavor, and in many cases, more iron-related nutrients. Lighter cuts often offer a leaner baseline and a mild platform for seasoning. But the smartest decision doesn't begin with a moral label. It begins with a simple filter. Fresh or processed, lean or fatty, and how you plan to cook it. Next time you're in the aisle, try this. Read the muscle's job, then choose the cut that matches your goal. And tell me in the comments, when you choose between chicken and steak, what are you optimizing for? Flavor, calories, nutrients, price, or something else? If this episode helped you see everyday food a little differently, give it a like. It tells YouTube to share it with more curious minds. And if you want more simple things decoded with clear science and practical takeaways, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. New episodes are on the way, and the next one will make another ordinary choice feel completely different.